Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Arc Reaction. This week we're talking about a little book called Critical Hit from Black Mask Studios. It's written by Matt Miner. It is, the art, the pencils and inks are by Brandon Sawyer, and the colors are from Doug Garbark. And it's a book about environmentalism, punk rock, and shooty murder stuff. So sit back and relax and let's talk about everything, really. So hey everybody, Critical Hit. It's actually an interesting book that's focusing on a pair of characters, Jeanette and Sarah, who are essentially environmental terrorists. They get together in ski masks with a bunch of pals, and they go, in this instance, to a hunting lodge sort of area, and then tear shit up because they're awesome, I guess. I don't know. Because that's what they believe in. And this is a book that is very much in weird, socially aware, let's say. But it's focused on, it's spun off of something which I believe is called Liberators, and it's sort of a line of books which was about liberating animals and animal rights. This is continuing in that direction, but this story actually takes them into a situation where these two characters, Jeanette and Sarah, are captured by hunters who run this lodge, and also tend to film like snuff films where they, murder people and film it. That makes this a little less morally ambiguous. If you're wondering, are these hunters evil? Is it really bad to kill deer? This book is not really going to delve into that issue because these guys are just jerks. This book also deals with animal abuse, animal abuse, and also relationship abuse, where one of the characters is in an abusive relationship. It deals with alcoholism and drug abuse. And it starts off talking about one of the characters who her father was, as she says, a good man, but he was an alcoholic. And it starts off talking about, moral ambiguity and how, you can be a functional alcoholic and still be a good guy in other ways. And things are gray. It's sort of funny because this book is not very gray. All the characters are actually very black and white because one woman's in an abusive relationship. You're not going to see that. Look, that already makes the guy sort of a villain as far as a narrative thing goes. You make a guy abusive and hurt a girl, he is instantly a villain. Then, just to put the little topping on the cake, he also kills a dog. So that guy's like super villain, the worst human that ever kills. Probably because he kills a dog, that probably makes him a little worse than the people that film actual murder of people. In my ranking of how evil a character is, dog killers are up at the top. They're like the top. If you want the worst character, somebody kills an animal, that makes them the worst villain they could ever be, and then harming humans is right below that, actually. For whatever reason. So, yeah, that's what this book deals with, and I sort of wish it would deal with it a little more grayer, like a little more in-depth, but this is a 4-issue series. It moves really quick, and I wish it had tried, it's really ambitious that tries to handle a lot of topics at once, and I think it's a little overly ambitious because it only gets to touch on them a little, and it never gets to fully explore a lot of these social issues. But I still appreciate it for trying, because it does a pretty decent job regardless of not going into a lot of depth or ambiguity or actually weighing sides. It's pretty much a very one-sided book. If you go to into this book and you really love killing animals, you're not going to like this book, if that's your thing. If you go out and hunt and you're a hunter, not the book for you. If you agree with abusing women or animals, or if you're a guy that likes to, I guess, drink and abuse alcohol or drugs, might not be the book for you. You're probably not going to be painted in a great way. But I don't know who those people are. Artistically, this is a really nice looking book. The art from Brandon Sawyer and Doug Garbark, who I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, is actually really nice to look at, especially for a book from a small publisher like Black Mask Studios. I think it says a lot that this guy can draw a pretty boring apartment and make it look visually interesting. That's sort of a test that I think you can really hold any artist up to. If you can draw a really boring place and make it look visually appealing and engaging, that's amazing. So I really love the art on this, and I think it actually pulls the book together better than the writing. The writing itself, one of the other issues I have with it, other than the moral stuff, because you can sort of get over that if you agree with it, and the writing's decent. And it's sort of fun, it moves the story along. But one of the actual issues that breaks this thing up for me, other than it's not just segmented in that it's covering a lot of issues, it's also broken up in time. There's a lot of flashbacks to 2 months ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 years ago, etc., and that's a tricky way to tell a story, and I don't recommend it for most people, because it's very easy to just interrupt the flow of a story. And I think this is one of those examples of why you don't really do that. They're juggling a lot of stories, and I really wish they would have found ways to tell these same stories in the present rather than just sort of falling back on the crutch of 2 weeks ago this happened, and 3 weeks ago this happened, and here's the backstory for this character, rather than just showing me it in the current action and pulling it all together. It feels like there's 2 or 3 stories that are sort of independently would be fine, but they're all sort of mix-matched in here. I don't recommend doing a lot of flashbacks for most writers, because it's hard to do without really interrupting the flow of the story. And this is a perfect example of flashbacks interrupting the flow of the story. This feels like 2 or 3 individual stories that are jumbled into one not very cohesive narrative. I like the story of these 2 characters being captured by these hunters, and I'm interested in the story about the one girl in an abusive relationship where that jerk also kills her dog, because we just got to establish him as a villain, I guess. I think that's a little lazy. But I'm interested in that story and where the writer, Matt Miner, wanted to go with that. And I'm interested in the story of the other character, as an animal rights activist trying to go and free that, and her dealing with a boyfriend who seems to have a drug problem, and her relationship with her father. And these are all interesting stories, except they're all told out of order, and I really wish he could have just told one story and worked it into more of a streamlined thing than just throwing all these bits together. But in spite of all this, I do think that it's sort of worth checking out if you're into this sort of stuff, if you're into... There's not a lot of environmentalism in comics or in really American media that much. It's sort of a taboo thing. So this is an interesting way to go and see it, and it was sort of on my mind recently. And I think it's probably worth checking out. Critical hit from Black Mask Studios, Matt Miner, as I said, Brandon Sawyer, and Doug Garbark. I think it could be refined a lot, but I think what they've put here is sort of unique and interesting to read, and I guess I enjoyed it. So everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this, and if you have read this book or you feel like checking it out and talking about it, please leave a comment, subscribe, check out my article where I talk more about it, hopefully a little more coherently. It's usually the idea of that. And follow us on Twitter and talk with us there, or on Facebook, or on Instagram if Simon ever decides to update that, which I think he's trying to, but he better be doing that right now. And then if that's it, you should just continue to subscribe and follow and watch all our other videos, and then comment on those, and we'll have a great time. And you can come back for my next arc reaction, in a week. So hope to see you there. Goodbye.